Hey, do you have the script for Armageddon ready?
Oh, yeah. Give me a second. Oh, I wouldn't smell that if I were you. What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is The Flash, Season 8, Episode 4, Armageddon Part 4. Wow, what a shit show. That's all I can really say. It is so bad. I truly did not expect it to be this bad, but it is. The stuff with Reverse Flash is probably the most interesting thing, and it's still a mess. And I know I've talked about this before, but just the idea that we are continuing to do all this time travel and messing with the timeline stuff, even though I thought put a rest to that after Crisis, but no, we're still going to do it because, oh, well, I mean, that's what the Flash is based on, guys. You got to keep doing timeline stuff. That makes it so messy. You've got Reverse Flash apparently going back, and he changed so much about the timeline. Not only did he affect what we saw, where he messed with the radiation thing at Star Labs, he killed Joe, he did all of that stuff, apparently fiddled with something to make Barry look guilty so the FBI would investigate him. He, on top of that, goes back and makes himself get struck by the lightning that Barry got struck with. So now he's the Flash. He also goes back in time and kills Barry as a kid. What? So he does all of that, and yet somehow it's, oh yeah, by midnight, the timeline will solidify. How does that make any sense? It doesn't, because time travel does not make sense. As a narrative device, it does not make sense. Anytime you introduce time travel, it's going to get messy. They did a whole shit ton of time travel in this episode, and we're just supposed to sit here and go, oh, okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, he goes back and does all this, and now by the stroke of midnight, if he doesn't get back and put the golden slipper on, glass slipper, I don't know why I said golden. But that's what it feels like is, oh yeah, that's how time travel works, guys. If midnight happens, then the timeline solidifies and Barry will disappear. That's how it works. How would that work? Because he killed Barry, but yeah, he also made him the Reverse Flash, so he also made Barry the bad guy in his time. All of the stuff he did, it feels like it all negates itself. He killed Barry as a kid, which means none of the future stuff happens anyway. How would he become Reverse Flash and become Barry's archenemy if he kills Barry to begin with? None of that makes sense. And then on top of that, he goes and he makes Barry the Reverse Flash because he changed who got struck with the lightning when that happened. And then on top of that, he goes and makes the Flash look like a bad guy, but then he made Barry the Reverse Flash. So he's made the Flash look like a bad guy in present day, what we saw in the last episode, the Flash attacking all these people. If he did that, but then he makes Barry the Reverse Flash, well, that means the Flash is the bad guy. You're the Flash. You're the bad guy. Hello, writers, wake up. I can't believe how bad this writing is. It makes no sense. Why do you keep relying on time travel when it makes less and less sense the more you use it? Why do they think that this is a good crutch to lean on? It's not. It's like trying to use a little twig as a crutch. It's gonna snap out from under you. And that's just the main story stuff, which again, I thought was gonna be interesting, because it's Barry versus the Reverse Flash, but even that was dumb. And then at the end of it, we find out apparently Armageddon is Barry running back in time to try to fix everything, and he needs all of this power to fix all of these things at once. We don't even get to see him do that. He just does it. But apparently that causes Armageddon. So this whole thing, Armageddon, that it's been building to is, no, that was actually Barry running back in time to fix everything, but then it didn't destroy the world anyway. How? I don't know. Barry just says, yeah, I didn't do that because Iris love, power of love, and love, Speed Force love, speed, fuzz, whatever. What? That's what we're gonna go with? We're gonna go with because of the power of love, he managed to use the Speed Force and not destroy the world? So yeah, now the whole thing with Armageddon is just done, and it feels like it's gonna be Barry versus Eobard Thawne again at the end of this. Okay. I mean, yeah, they have been rivals for a long time. He's been involved since the first season. I don't know. I figured this was going to be a final season thing. But this is season 8, and there are 9 seasons total. So are they really going to finish this battle here? Because I don't know why you would have a 5-parter if you weren't going to finish this battle. And then again, even if you do finish this battle, well, you could still come back because of the power of time travel. Ooh. So none of it feels really climactic and final about it. It feels like this is another big battle between the Flash and Reverse Flash. Okay, we've seen this done before. And it also, again, does bring up the problem I had at the end of last season, which is you really wanted to rely on Reverse Flash to help you with Godspeed instead of just, I don't know, putting the meta cuffs on him since he's now a real meta instead of, what was the term they were using? Artificial meta. Okay, just came back to me. But yeah, again, it brings up just that problem. The idea that there are other ways you could have defeated Godspeed, but for some reason the best thing they could think to do was to bring Reverse Flash in. Well, look what that led to. He realized the Flash was faster than him, and so he went to this insane length to try to take him out. Here we are. But yeah, the stuff with Barry and Iris, I mean, kind of predictable. You figure at some point she's going to realize, actually, he is the love of my life. Somehow, because love, Speed Force, time, blah, blah, blah. And then the side stories. And this is where it really reminded me that I was watching a CW show. Because I've talked about it before, the CW is just awful. When it comes to writing drama, when it comes to writing that type of thing, it's almost like that matters more than writing a superhero show. And I don't know why, but that's what it feels like. And this one, I don't understand the point of any side story. The only one that connected to anything was we saw apparently Ryan is here for some reason, because even though I'm not watching the final season of Batwoman, this show wanted to be like, no, but you still have to see Batwoman and be reminded about how awful that show is. So yeah, she's here, and the only reason that it connects to anything is she's talking about trusting her gut and how she and Sophie are going to adopt the child. And oh my gosh, isn't that just so sweet? And so that plays into Iris trusting her gut about how she feels about Barry. That's the only way it tied into anything. Other than that, like I said, it was just a reminder that, yeah, Batwoman as a show, it exists, guys. It exists. So you should watch it, because it's here, so you should watch it. No. No. I watched season 2 because I thought maybe it would be a bit better, maybe it would connect to something, and it got worse than season 1, so no desire to see season 3. But then the other side story is we see Ryan Choi is here again. Don't know why he's here, but he's here with Alex trying to play Cupid between Allegra and Chuck, even though it's not even our Allegra and Chuck, so why the hell does it even matter? It doesn't. And yet we spent probably, if I had to guess, out of this 42 to 44 minute episode, we probably spent about 10 minutes on it. That's a quarter of the episode. I could be wrong, but that's definitely that's definitely the sense that I was getting, is that we were spending way too much time on this story that doesn't even matter. I know they've been building them up as a couple this season. I know we've had a few looks and glances here and there. Why the hell do we care about future them, which aren't even going to exist at the end of this episode? So why does it matter? And then Ryan Choi is here for some reason, and we see he has an emotional arc in this one where, oh, you know what? I do want to spend my life with somebody. I don't want to spend the rest of my life alone. Who cares? Is he even coming back after this? I don't even know why he's here. The only time I remember seeing him was in Crisis. Why are we spending time on this? If you don't have enough story to stretch out over 5 episodes, don't make it 5 episodes long. The first episode, I talked about it, there was way too much filler story in that. There was so much filler and very little build up to Armageddon. And then you got episodes 2 and 3 are more focused in on what's going on with Barry maybe going crazy, who's causing this, why are there changes to the timeline seemingly. They actually were focused in on that, even though some of the side stories were still stupid. They were focused in on forwarding the main story. This one, you have 2 side stories, one of which slightly connects, like I said, Ryan with Iris, the other one, no connection at all. We're not going to see these versions of these characters again because Barry's going to change the timeline. So why are we spending time focusing in on Choi, who's not going to be here after this episode, more than likely. Focusing in on Chuck and Allegra's relationship, even though this is not the version of them that we're going to be seeing for the rest of this season. What the hell is going on in the writers' brains? Do they just want to have this emotional moment to be like, oh, guys, see how cute it is? And now we're going to go back and then they're going to get together in our timeline. Isn't that going to be so cute because we can see what happens here? Or we could maybe spend time explaining some more about the time travel stuff and not rushing through it and making none of it make sense. Maybe you could really focus in and try to make that make more sense instead of spending quarter of your episode on BS relationship stuff that doesn't even matter. And I actually went on IMDb to look up and see about Ryan Choi and be like, okay, did I miss him somewhere else? Is he going to be sticking around? Doesn't seem like he is. What's shocking to me, this is the highest rated episode for this season. The fact that it's the highest rated Armageddon episode is already crazy to me, with how BS so much of this story is and how stupid the side stories are. the fact that this is the highest rated episode, is it just because it's Thawne and we get to see his master plan? Is that everybody's like, oh, that's so cool, when it doesn't make any sense, but they just turn their brains off and they're like, oh, Thawne versus the Flash, oh, that's so cool. Because I can't think of any other reason why this episode would be rated the highest. Again, I thought the last two episodes, at least they were focused in on the story. I still thought it was kind of dumb, but they had focus. Here, it lost focus again, just like the first episode. And all of the time travel stuff we learn about doesn't make any sense. Even the Damien Dark stuff. I love Damien Dark as a villain. I think he's hilarious. The actor playing him, I think, is a really good comedic actor. But even with him being involved, it just felt like we need a villain who has a softer side that we've seen maybe help out the good guys before. So, okay, well, Damien Dark, that works. But his involvement just felt so bland. You know, like we have him and Barry talking about working together, and then they go in, and then Barry doesn't kill the people there. So then he figures out it's not the real Barry, but then he realizes he could save his daughter in the other timeline, so he helps Barry. And then he's just there to, I guess, talk to Barry and be like, hey, think of Iris, because love, power of love, Speed Force, love, Speed Force, blah, blah, blah. And then he gets his ass kicked by people, and that was kind of it. And just seeing Frost and the douchey guy together and working together already lose my interest because they're terrible as a couple. But then you have Choi showing up and Alex with some of the worst dialogue I've ever seen. Like, it was so bad, even Neil McDonough could not make it sound believable. Oh yes, I turned your knife into some sort of alloy. It's basically 2 tons. So good luck lifting 2 tons of stuff. Oh, I really hate science. Shocked. Then you're really gonna hate that. Are we writing for children? Did children write this? Is that what happened? Did somebody let their kids into the office and the kids type some superhero? And then he said, oh, I really hate science. And then she said, oh, then you're really gonna hate that. Is that what happened? And then they saw that, like, well, better than anything we can do, and just put it on the screen? I was already not that excited for this season because, well, the first few episodes did not get me excited. And obviously with Armageddon ending in the next episode, I have no idea where they're going to go after this. But I'm just not looking forward to it, and this made me dread having to watch this 8th season, because this is a show that I really enjoyed, and I don't like watching it go into the shitter, but here we are. With all that being said, on to the 5th and final part of Armageddon. I'll see you there. And now Armageddon Part 5. Wow. This has probably got to be the worst storyline in Flash history. I mean, probably not. There have probably been a few that have been worse than this. But my God, just all of this, what is it all leading to? The big showdown between the Flash and Reverse Flash. Whether or not they're going to let him die or they're going to take his speed away and keep him alive. Isn't that just the ultimate showdown? Oh, God. And the thing is, I mean, I knew exactly where it was going to go. I knew exactly what was going to happen from minute, I would say 5, after Caitlin had the talk with him, and she went to Flash saying we need to let him die, and then Flash was saying we need to let him die, and then Iris was saying we need to let him die. I'm thinking, okay, so he's not going to die. You're not going to let him die, because you guys are talking about it so much. And of course, you got the new guys, as they call them, Allegra and Chuck, coming in. Hey, but we're heroes. We don't let people die, even though he has multiple times tried to murder you, tried to change the timeline, tried to do awful things, responsible. We're not going to let him die. So I'm like, okay, so clearly we're going with the happy-go-lucky fantasy world where people can do whatever they want and get away with it. And, oh, yeah, we'll put him in jail because, yeah, that'll stop him for sure. And sure enough, that's what they go with. I don't get it. I mean, clearly this is written by people who are against the death penalty. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Like, if this were Hitler in his place, would you just be like, but guys, we shouldn't let him die. We should let him live and just put him in prison, and I'm sure that'll work out well. Sometimes there's a reason why the death penalty exists. There are some people that just cannot be changed, that just cannot be trusted to be around, because they could hurt more people. And I know that sounds awful, but the fact of the matter is, if you've got a psychopath who's going around murdering hundreds of people, how else are you going to stop him? Put him in jail? There's a chance he could break out. I know it's not likely, but there's a chance. Oh, well, maybe just put him in a mental institution. Maybe he'll change. There's a chance he might not. Chance he could murder a lot of the doctors there. You know, he could fake in prison. He could fake having turned around, so get out on parole and then go and murder more people. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. If there's a dangerous person like that, you don't know what's going to happen. With Thawne, I mean, they already talked about it, but I'll bring it up too, since I think Despero did. He's gotten his powers back before. So how do we know that this is going to be a permanent, oh yeah, it's definitely gone. His speed is definitely gone. You don't know that for sure. It can always return to him. You know, how many times, I think Barry has lost his powers before, but the latent energy in there has brought it back to him. If the writers want to bring Thawne back in the final season, they're going to find a way for him to get his speed back. This is not a solution. This is a temporary, yeah, guys, we took the moral high ground and kept them alive. Next season, that could bite us in the ass, but who cares? We're the heroes because we did the stupid thing of keeping a dangerous, extremely dangerous villain alive. We're the good guys. And again, I know that sounds really harsh and kind of dark to think about, but in reality, if there is somebody this dangerous, I mean, just look at what he did this season alone. That is insane levels of villainy. The amount of times and the amount of areas he changed the timeline to fix the story in his way, that is extremely dangerous. And Barry, there's no way to know that he did that. Honestly, I still kind of want to know how Dion wasn't able to sense that he had gone back and done all of this, because it feels weird that he's sort of looking over the timeline, and yet clearly Eobard managed to get past him multiple times and change multiple things, and he's just in there, oh, I don't know how he did that. But it's just ridiculous to me that this is the stance they decided. First of all, that this is the ultimate final episode of this 5-parter that this has been leading to, is debating whether or not you're going to kill Eobard Thawne, or not even kill him, just let him die. Let the timeline claim him. That's what this has all been building to. You know, yes, Barry has a fight with Despero, but really, who cares about that? It looks awful. It looks like PS2 graphic CGI fight. It's terrible. That's not even that interesting. Despero claims Mia, which I don't even know why she's able to travel through time, why she's even here. Oh, William was taken. Okay, so why are you going back in time then? How does that make any sense? Shouldn't you be looking in your own time? I don't know, just something about her reasoning of, yeah, I saw there's a time disturbance. How did you see there was a time disturbance? Did I miss something? Is there something I'm forgetting from the end of Arrow where she suddenly has the ability to travel through time for some stupid reason? Because, yeah, her dad fixed the timeline, made it one long time, so why not just spit on his grave and go, no, I want to be able to travel through time and maybe possibly mess up the timeline that he worked so hard to fix. But she's just there so that Despero has somebody to control, because everybody else on the team, I guess he's not able to. So let's throw Mia in there for that reason. And her attack on Star Labs is just kind of dumb. You know, she manages to sneak up on Allegra and Frost and depower them somehow with sound like a siren arrow. I don't know how that works. But then she goes in and probably the dumbest. It was so dumb I actually laughed. It was one of those so bad it was kind of hilarious to watch, because she shoots an arrow at Iris. And first of all, the fact that Iris has superhuman reflexes somehow to be able to dodge out of the way of an arrow. Not even just dodge out of the way of an arrow, dodge out of the way of an arrow that she didn't even see coming until it was already out of the bow. She managed to look over, see the arrow, and get out of the way. That already is so stupid. But it was the acting on it, or I guess the lack of acting on it, that absolutely took me out. I was dying laughing at how dumb she looked. All I could think was they were shooting from the arrow, and they were doing like a rehearsal take. And just like, all right, Candace, so the arrow's going to be coming this way. We're going to need you to toss the pad out of the way and move your body to get out of the way of the camera. You're going to fall into that pad behind you. They did the rehearsal take, and she just kind of, half tossed it, half fell off. And then they realized, oh crap, that was the last thing of film. And then nobody remembered to go reshoot that scene. And that's what ended up, because literally there was no reaction on her face. It was, she's looking dead at the arrow, and she just, it was so bad. That's what I've come to expect, though, from this show, if I'm being honest. Like, it is so bad now. The story is awful. The acting it's not even really that good anymore. I even felt like first of all, it's nice to see Jesse Martin on this show still. I don't know when he's going to leave. Kind of thought it might be at the end of this, but He's still here somehow. But even his little blow up at Iris and Barry whenever they're talking about letting Thawne die, even that kind of felt very forced and also out of nowhere for Joe. I don't know. It's like the directing has gotten worse. I don't know if they changed directors for this season, but a lot of the lines just don't feel convincing. Even the final emotional moment between Nora and Damien, I didn't feel it at all. And I like both of those characters. And yet I felt nothing. First of all, the way that she was walking toward him as she was speaking, it almost felt like they were just, again, rehearsal take. All right, you guys are going to walk forward and get to this spot and go. And then she's saying the lines. She's delivering them somewhat well, but the reaction on her face seems very minimal. And the way that they're walking, it just feels stilted. And I don't know if that's supposed to be representative because they're in this weird temporal space. I don't know. I don't understand any of that story. Apparently because he had the time stone or whatever that was, that's I guess what was keeping him in this timeline. And then when he gives it to Joe, that causes them to swap places. Don't understand any of that. Why did he want the time stone to begin with? Just so many questions that are probably not going to get answered. I don't even know, like for Nora, I don't know why that was even a story. Is she suddenly going to come back for this season? Is she going to be involved? Or is this just we wanted to have this big emotional moment, so Damien Dark, he's going to disappear. Nora's going to have to relive her father disappearing on her again. Okay, I guess that's emotional, but I felt none of it. It was weird. I was too busy questioning everything because I have no idea what they're even doing. But then the final thing to talk about is what I guess is setting up for the rest of this season because, first of all, the fact we see Iris talking to Mia and basically says, hey, Nora and Bart, they drop in on us every now and then, so feel free to do the same. Once again, time travel should not be something that is just casually talked about. Should not be something that is just casually happening. Because again, we worked so hard to save the timeline. We worked so hard to make sure there were no longer branches. It was just one central timeline. Time travel creates branches. So are we just ignoring that there are branches now, that there are other universes that exist? Or are we just saying, no, this time travel, it doesn't affect anything. It doesn't affect anything at all. We're fine. You're just an idiot of a writer if you just think, yeah, you can travel back in time and that's not going to cause any problems. And then at the end we have, I guess, the hook because, aren't you just so excited? At the end, there's a 2014 picture and Nora and Bart, they're in the picture now. What does that mean? I don't give a shit. I truly do not care. And if anybody cares, they really should be checked into a mental psych ward because how in your right mind can you look at this and go, that's interesting. We should not be time traveling so willy-nilly. And honestly, and this may just be me, but Nora and Bart are just annoying. I didn't like them last season. I didn't like Nora in her first season because she was so childish, even though she's supposed to be like 25, 26, whatever. But she's so childish. She doesn't learn from her lessons that she learns every episode. She acts like a teenager. It's not interesting. And then Bart, he acted like a little kid, even though he's supposed to be like 18, 19. But he acted like he's 10. Is so excitable, so all over the place. Oh, hey, do you see the way I just ran through that guy who apparently killed my uncle and I should have this emotional reaction to, but look at me, I'm so cool. You're acting like a little child. And both of them are just, they're not well written. They're not well directed. It's annoying whenever they show up. And a lot of it is probably down to my just general frustration of you should not be traveling back in time. And just doing all this and, hey, we're just going to go back and do stuff that may affect our current time. That's not how that works. When did this show get so blah about changing the timeline? Like, Flashpoint was such a huge deal when it first happened for Barry because he went back and saved his mom and then he realized that's wrong. I should not be doing that. I should not be going back and changing things just because I can. It's dangerous. And yet, oh yeah, Nora and Bart, they pop in on us every now and then. Why are you acting so nonchalant about that? Who knows what they're doing by showing up? Who knows what problems they're causing? Like, why is this such a thing now? I don't know. I'm falling out with the show. I already did, technically, because I feel like last season is really where I just lost it. I lost my interest. I lost any sort of semblance of caring about this show. Because the season before that was pretty bad, but I was still hoping that maybe they could turn it around, hoping they would give me something. Last season lost me. This season, it's like they're not even trying to get me back. It's like they're just sitting there going, you know what? it's too hard to try to write good stories. It's too hard to try to write good villains that Flash and his team have to work hard and figure out clever solutions for. So let's just time travel some more. Legends of Tomorrow are doing it, so that seems fun. So let's just do that. Maybe because most of your show is showing why time travel is so dangerous. Whatever. Done with this episode. Don't think there's anything else to talk about from this one. It's just all pretty bad. So anyways, on to the final of these 3 episodes. I know this is going to be a little bit of a weird time jump because these 5 episodes happened and I think they waited a bit and then they continued on with the rest of this season. I don't know if it's going to be something completely different. I just don't know. I kind of don't care. I just want to, at this point, it's about finishing it out. With Batwoman, I didn't really care about it when I first started, so it was easier for me to drop it and say, you know what, I'm just not going to watch the 3rd season. With this show, it's a show that I care about. So even though it's getting bad, even though it's awful right now, I feel like I need to finish it just to see, all right, where does it go? Where does it go from here? But anyways, on to the 6th episode. I'll see you there. And now episode 6, Impulsive Excessive Disorder. Oh boy, an episode surrounding Bart and Nora, and focused solely on them. You can tell that I was super excited to be getting to see only them involved in this episode. Woohoo. And the thing is, I don't even know what this is going to relate to. You know, the temporal wave that they get hit with, I assume that's after Barry went back and reset everything Thawne did. I don't know why that suddenly erased their aunt. Who knows? But it was just a weird episode. They go back in time to 2013, 2014, basically right before the start of the series, and we see them take on the Royal Flush Gang, which obviously was something created for this season. So that way, Bart and Nora, they went back and they are the ones that brought them together, I guess. Does that make any sense? We heard them talking about the Royal Flush Gang at the beginning of this season, and how they were a thing back when Barry was in a coma, and now Bart and Nora going back in time created that gang? What? And again, I assume the temporal wave that they were hit with at the beginning of this episode was based on what happened with Barry going back, because that's the only other time we've seen a temporal wave in this season, is whenever he went back and stopped Thawne's plan and reversed everything he did before. We saw that wave come through. I assume that's the same wave. If it's not, then why all of a sudden was there a temporal wave? Just because they went back in time to see them renew their vows? And if that's the case, why did that affect something that happened before they went back in time? Like, they went back in time to the year, 2020, 2021, somewhere in there. They went back then to stop Godspeed and then see the vows. Why was all of a sudden something changed in 2013, 2014? That makes no sense. But yet, here we are. I don't know if they're going to explain all of this, or if this is just something that we're supposed to hold our hands up and go, hey, it's a fictional show, so why should I have to use my brain? But I'm sorry, you do have to use some logic. You can't just write things down on a piece of paper willy-nilly and say, hey, this makes sense because I say it makes sense. That's not how writing works. Like, you can do that if you want to, but guess what? Nobody's going to take you seriously if you don't have explanations for why things happen. I could say a guy jumps off a building and floats up into the atmosphere and then floats into space and flies and then goes and stands on the sun. I could write that as a story. People are going to ask how, why. Why was he able to fly? How was he able to survive in space? How was he able to survive standing on the sun? Don't ask questions. It just happened that way. What can I tell you? I wrote it, so that's all you need to know. That's not how it works. I have a headache after this episode. So, first of all, the whole thing with them meeting this Avery girl, stupid. I don't know if Avery's going to come back. I assume probably, because it seems way too CW for them to introduce a love interest for Bart that lives in the past. There is something ridiculous to me, though, that they go and talk to this girl who is looking into time travel and tell her that they're from the future. How does that make sense? You want to talk about we can't change the timeline, and yet you're talking to somebody who's researching time travel and telling them, hey, time travel does exist. How does that not change the future? I mean, what if she was about to give up that day on the idea of time travel, and now all of a sudden you just confirmed all of her theories? Who knows what's going to happen now? And also, can I just point out how ridiculous it is that Nora was getting on to Bart for suggesting that they go back in time after he saved Joe? He suggested they go back in time again to see what they did wrong. And she's like, oh yes, let's time travel to fix our time traveling mistakes. What are you doing now? What are you currently in the process of doing? You're time traveling to fix your time traveling mistakes. Why are you acting like he's stupid for suggesting that when that is what you're currently doing? I kind of just had to laugh at how stupid that line is. But then after that, seeing the Royal Flush Gang again, not that interesting. I already talked about how really bad they were. The acting is awkward and over the top, and it still is. And just that whole setup of they're going to rob a casino and then blow it up, apparently. Really? You can't just rob the place? You gotta rob it and then also murder a bunch of people? Why? I understand if you guys are just looking for money, but then why set the charges that are going to destroy all these people? It just feels like their motivations are really weird. And on that note, I didn't even talk about this, but motivations this season have been all over the place. I mean, Despero was also just weirdly motivated. Sometimes he wanted to save the planet, and then other times he didn't care if he destroyed a whole city to save the planet. It just felt like, okay, is he a murderer, or is he actually a good guy that's trying to save the planet? Like, what is his deal? It just felt like whatever they needed him to do for that moment of the plot, that's what he was going to do. For this, it didn't seem like the Royal Flush Gang were the murdering type. Yes, they were going to kill the one guy to essentially not have to share money with him, but that felt more like we want the money to ourselves, so we're not going to share it with you, so we're just going to get rid of you. Now all of a sudden it's like, no, they're just straight on murderers. They are willing to blow up a whole building with all these people in it. Sure, whatever the plot needs, I guess. Basically just to give Bart and Nora a chance to be heroes. And even then, I don't know, it feels like this is just kind of stupid. Like Bart is trying to get people outside without them noticing, which clearly they're going to notice because they're looking directly at them. So they're going to notice when people start disappearing. But they were supposed to not stop the heist, but then not let the explosion happen. Well, okay, so let them complete the heist, stay out of sight, and then once they're gone, get rid of the bombs, which is essentially what they did, but then they threw in this little extra bit of tension where Bart goes and starts saving people, and then they notice that, and then they're threatening to kill a woman, and all of a sudden Bart pops up, pretending to be a manager. She tries to read his mind, nearly gives away that he's from the future, but changes his thoughts, so that way he's thinking about this girl as his future, and that, I don't know, whatever. But essentially, his plan to save people fails, but Nora gets rid of the bomb, so it still works out. Honestly, just the fact that she was searching for a few minutes, couldn't find the bombs, then she finds one and all of a sudden finds all of them. I know you want to have tension in this show, but when you have the idea of super speedsters and you make it to where they search for a few minutes and can't find something, and then all of a sudden find 5 of the thing they're searching for within 5 seconds, you realize how manufactured that tension feels, right? And you have to realize as writers how stupid that is. Oh, I searched. I can't find the bombs anywhere. Oh, wait, I found one. Oh, I found all 5 now. Well, yeah, so that basically, as the writers, you said she can't find them. Now she found them. Like, that's basically what happened. She couldn't find them before because the plot didn't want her to find them until it was just about too late and the building was 30 seconds from being blown up. And that's just not fun. You know, it feels more like she's just being stupid as a hero and not really searching. She's just like strolling around in the basement, not using her super speed. She's just walking around, looking around the corner. Not there. Not there. And then finally it's like, oh, there's 30 seconds left. Well, I guess now I'll actually look. Oh, there's one. There's all 5. We're done now. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with this show. I really want to know, is it a change of writers? Is it a change of directors? Is it just a change in the production of the show? Like the people in charge of it came in or maybe left and new people came in and they just said, you know what? Can we just focus on relationships? Can we just focus on who's going to get with who? We're going to give Bart a romantic interest in this one. We're going to have Joe and Cecile talking, even though I'm pretty sure she wasn't even a character in the show until like maybe season 3. Having her show up here is almost just like a, hey guys, they're together now. Isn't this cute? You get to see when they first had the idea of maybe dating, but then they didn't for a little while and she wasn't even around. But there's the first time they really thought about dating. Ooh, isn't that cute? No, because it doesn't really fit with what we saw in the show. And then you have a nice moment between Iris and what I don't even remember his name now, Thawne's dad or grandfather or whatever. You have a nice moment between them at the end where they have their first little interaction as, oh, maybe there's a connection there. Maybe I don't know, maybe they're gonna hook up, guys. Maybe they're gonna hook up, maybe get engaged, and then maybe he's gonna die and none of that's even gonna matter. So why are we focusing on a cute moment between them whenever it's Barry and Iris that are kind of the focus point of the show? Like, as an Easter egg, that makes no sense. Like, I tried to think about it from the point of view of other romantic stories, and Cap and Peggy came to mind, because that's a really good one. It's how they ended Endgame, so clearly there's a good emotion to that one. What if you just had a moment where we're doing a flashback, and we see the first time that Cap met that one blonde chick that made out with him that made Peggy jealous in the first movie? Like, what if we just flash back to that meeting point? It's like, oh, isn't that kind of cute? No, because that's not who he ended up with. So why are we focusing on her? Why are we focusing on Iris and Thawne being together when, also with that in mind, that does make Eobard's story in Armageddon even weirder, knowing that he was planning to marry his grandmother, technically. I can't remember now how Eobard Thawne is connected to Detective Thawne. I can't remember if it was like father and son, grandfather, grandson. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too hard about that. But yeah, just having that moment made no sense. And a lot of this episode didn't. It felt like they wanted to have Bart and Nora again. They wanted to bring him back in because, oh, weren't they so goofy and funny and quirky? No, I'm sorry. Neither of them are that entertaining to me. They both act like idiots. They both act like children, even though they're supposed to be a bit older than children. Bart's supposed to be close to young adult age, supposed to be slightly maturing. She's supposed to be mid to late 20s. She doesn't act like that at all. She doesn't act like she's mature at all. They both are just not well written and not well either acted or directed, one of the two. But it's just not fun to watch them. Even the emotional scene that Bart had, it felt so forced. You know, he has one moment where he comes back, saves Joe from getting shot, and that messes up things a little bit worse. And all of a sudden, he's like breaking down, crying, looking at Barry in the hotel room, telling him that he's failed him and that he's never going to be the Flash. Just like, dude, you made one mistake. You know, stop acting like a preteen. I mean, I remember I did that when I was 10. You know, anytime I would make a mistake and mess something up at 10, that's when I would break down crying. He's supposed to be 18 or 19, and he makes a mistake, and he breaks down crying. Come on. And I realize the pressure of being a superhero is real. I'm not saying that there's no pressure there, but he doesn't have as much pressure as Barry does, because he's at least got a sister who is already doing her superhero thing. It should not feel like for him, one mistake suddenly makes him not capable of being a hero. Like, that makes no sense. It's a childish way of thinking, and he's not a child. So long story short, this was not a good episode. No surprises. Obviously, I'm not a fan of Bart or Nora as characters, so not surprising at all that I did not have fun with it. I don't know what the brush disappearing at the end means. I know Iris is probably still dealing with her time or temporal sickness or whatever. They just sort of haven't talked about that since the third episode this season, so I don't know. I don't know if we're just not going to focus on it anymore or if that is going to be the focus now, but it feels weird that it wasn't even referenced at the end of Armageddon. We just sort of moved past that. There's also no real resolution for Bart and Nora's story either. Like, they go back and change this one thing where Joe didn't get shot, so he doesn't become chief too early in this timeline anymore. And that's kind of it. You know, it felt like they were trying to get to the bottom of why their aunt disappeared, and it doesn't feel like we made any progress there. It feels like that just sort of got ignored after they went back and stopped Joe from getting shot. That's kind of weird to me. Like, are they going to keep searching for why their aunt disappeared? Are they going to keep trying to fix these temporal anomalies? Are we going to find out if that temporal wave that they were hit with was because of what they did or because of what Barry did? It just feels like there's no real answers. And once again, as I've mentioned a few times already in this review, the fact that time travel is still a thing in this show after what Oliver did to kind of reset the timeline, it feels a little disrespectful. A lot disrespectful, really. Like Barry doing the little pose on Oliver's grave, you know, the meme that's gone around. That's kind of what this feels like. You know, as Oliver sacrificed himself and he's just like, yeah, screw that. We're going to keep doing our thing. Time travel as a crutch is not being well handled on this show. and they keep doing it. It feels like they don't have any other answers other than, well, let's fix it with time travel. Well, let's make time travel the focus. Well, let's have time travel happen. We want to keep using Bart and Nora's characters, so time travel. They'll go back in time, even though, oh, Dad keeps warning us about the dangers of time travel. We're going to do it again. Then in that case, you're not making these characters likable. You're having them go back in time despite the fact that they know what the problems are. They know that's dangerous. They know what it can cause. They do it anyway. That does not make them likable. It makes them unlikable. It makes them seem spoiled. That, oh yeah, we can just do whatever we want. We're the kids of the Flash. We can time travel even if our dad says we shouldn't. You can't tell me that these are likable characters. You can't convince me because they don't act like it. All that being said, just going to try to see how this whole series comes to an end. I hope I can be entertained by something by the end of the show, but I will say my hope for that is very quickly dwindling. I just want to finish it out and see what happens. So with all that being said, those are my thoughts on these 3 episodes. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Did you have any excitement for this show at this point? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Flash reviews. Also check out the channel. We have a lot of reviews on here as well as a couple Let's Plays. So check those out if you have time. But until next time, I hope you guys have a great day. I'll talk to you all later. Peace out.